Well, good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you are in the country. Welcome to the U.S. Enterprise Mobility and Security Partner Community Call for April 2017. We are very excited to have you all with us here today. And this is Nick Johnson, by the way, if I've not had you on one of the calls before. I'm just thrilled that you've chosen to join us today. Just a few housekeeping items as we get started. The call is being recorded. You are in a listen-only mode, but the call is being recorded on behalf of Microsoft. So if you don't consent to being a part of a recorded call, you should go ahead and just disconnect your line now. If you have any questions or feedback for any of our presenters today or for us as the moderation team, down in the lower left-hand corner of your browser window, you'll see a little chat window. You can type in questions there and we will get back to you, or we will answer them live on the call, depending on how it all fits together. So, thank you again for being a part of the Enterprise Mobility and Security community. Our agenda for today is I've got several key announcements that I want you to be aware of, and so I'll share some of those. We've got some great training resources. There is so much coming at us in the EMS space right now that it's hard to keep up, and so we're trying to keep you up to date on everything that we're doing, so I'll show you some of those training resources here. I'll also give you a preview of what we're going to talk about in May in our community. It's going to be a pretty hot topic. And then we've got a couple of guest speakers. And this month, if you've tracked with us in the Yammer group or on the blog, we've been looking a little bit at secure productive enterprise. And what does it mean for us as EMS-focused people as we think about how does Office 365 and Windows 10 sort of fit into the bigger picture of what we're trying to build for our customers in terms of security solutions. So I've got pleased to welcome Michael Panzaroli and Walt Perry. Both of them are TSPs on their respective products, and they will be coming on and joining us here in just a few minutes. So very, very excited to have them here as well, joining us from their communities. Just to get us started, though, a couple of announcements. One is Microsoft Inspire. It's coming. If you have joined us in the past for this, it was always known as the Worldwide Partner Conference. The marketing team has changed the branding a little bit to Inspire. I think it's going to be a really great conference. I'm going to be there, and in fact, we are going to have an opportunity for you as community members to come and join us in what we call the U.S. Lounge. And the U.S. Lounge will be a part of the big expo event. And we will have times when you can sign up. We'd love to meet with you. Talk about your business, talk about EMS solutions or ideas you have to help us grow the community and grow what we're doing to help partners. So be sure to join us at Inspire. It's going to be a really great event. Here's a little insider tip. The price is going to go up here in the beginning of May. So if you're thinking of joining us, be sure to get your ticket before May so that you can take advantage of the current lowest available pricing and not have to pay a little extra later on. If you are new, you have found us at the U.S. Enterprise Mobility and Security community. We've actually got a whole bunch of resources available for you. One and probably foremost is our Yammer group, and you see a screenshot of it there under the red bar, and there's a URL underneath that. If you're not a part of our Yammer community yet, be sure to join that. It is a fantastic place to interact with each other. I know we're posting a lot of information there for you every single day. In fact, I just got basically a dump of information into my inbox this morning that I'm starting to parse through that's got a lot of new announcements and training opportunities and videos and everything else that I think will really be helpful to you as partners. So I'm going to be making a bunch of Yammer posts here today and tomorrow. So be sure to track with us on that. And then we've got our call. You're here, so you know about that. And we also do a blog series, and we've got quite a few blogs that we're posting. So be sure to track with us on those things. All right, so a few months ago, we talked about the EMS Everywhere program, which is a funded program available for you as partners to go out and do a one-day engagement, pre-sales focused engagement with your customers to talk about EMS and the value it will provide for them and to walk through some of those scenarios with them. We're very excited to announce that we've done some updates to that content, and you can see the URL on the slide deck here. So if you're interested in being a part of that, there is still funding available. You'll need to get that submitted, obviously, here relatively quickly in our Microsoft's fiscal year 17 to take advantage of that. We're working on trying to secure funding for next year, but we don't have anything to announce in that area yet. And it's usually at this point where people ask, are the slides available to download? And the answer is 100% yes. I've posted the link to the slide deck. It's on our Yammer group, and I posted it into the chat window, which should be on the left side of your browser there. If you didn't get it, I'll post it again here in a few minutes so that you can go download this deck. All right, I talked about upcoming training opportunities. They are coming fast and furious these days. And so here is a list of all of the ones that we are tracking. You can see there's stuff that covers Intune, it covers advanced threat analytics, it covers cloud app security. It actually covers some of the Office 365 stuff that Michael's going to talk about today. There's a couple of sessions coming up in May on that. We've keeping this very up to date, and every time we get a new one of these, we're posting it into Yammer and making a little bit of a message in the Yammer group for that. So again, if you're interested in keeping up with what is the absolute latest on the EMS side of things for training, Yammer is the place to do that. You'll find this deck, as always, under the Files tab in Yammer. And actually, we're keeping a running archive as well. So going back to the beginning of March, we've got archive links for all of the sessions that have happened. So if you're new, you want to kind of get up to speed, most of these sessions are available to, most of these sessions are available and produced by the product groups. And so the product teams are ones that have said, hey, we want to get this messaging out to partners. They're working with us to get it out to you. So please take advantage of these. I posted this to Yammer last Friday. You may find it relevant. This is just a screenshot of a part of the message I posted. It's actually as an attachment, so you'll have to open it because it's in an email format. The link is in this slide deck here. But this came directly from the product team, and they said, we want to get this out to partners because this is all of the new stuff that we feel like partners really should understand and know about what's the changes that are happening kind of real time in Intune. I know we've talked about Intune here in the community several times, but if you're new to it, you want to catch up with what the latest and greatest is, this link that I posted with this message in it is absolutely worth a download and worth the 10 minutes it takes to go through it and kind of cruise through those resources. There's some videos, there's some links, there's some infographics, there's all kinds of helpful stuff in there. Don't miss that, and that's in a format so that you could actually take that email and just share it directly with the admins at your customers. If they're on Intune, they want to know what the changes are, you're going to look like a little bit of a hero by just getting that right into their hands. So feel free to go ahead and grab that off of Yammer and download that. Again, the link is here in this slide deck over on the right as well. Speaking of Intune, coming in May, we are going to continue to focus on Intune. Like I said, we're looking at Secure Productive Enterprise this month, but in May, we are going to look at Intune and take a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the features. Probably, I'm working on a session, hopefully, to do some either a live call or some posts about proof of concepts and best practices around that. So there's going to be some really good information, I hope, coming in Intune in May. If there's anything you specifically want to know about Intune, you can just go ahead and post that in the comments here in the call today, or you can post it into the Yammer group and say, hey, tell us about this, right? Maybe you want to know more about mobile application management or something like that. That's the place to do it. So switching gears just a little bit, we are going to dive into Secure Productive Enterprise. And if you've been tracking with Microsoft at all this month, hopefully you've heard that we've been spending quite a bit of time focused on this. In fact, us as internal team members have gone through extensive training and some focused kind of events and focused sales calling and things around SPE. And this is a drumbeat that you're going to continue to hear as you work with the Microsoft field all the way in through, the end of this fiscal year, and especially as we launch into the next fiscal year in July. Secure Productive Enterprise is going to be a big deal. So this is something you're going to continue to hear from us. So we wanted you as partners to get some exposure to some of the same training that we've been giving to our internal folks. And that's why Michael and Walt are going to be joining us here in a minute. The three of us were responsible to put that training together for many of our partner-facing folks internally here. We wanted you to hear some of that. But if you're new to the SPE or Secure Productive Enterprise space, this is an exciting way of selling some of the very best of Microsoft to your customers. And SPE, as you see across the very bottom of this slide, is made up of three major product groups, right? Windows 10, Office 365, and then the EMS suite. But really, it's designed to do what the center of this slide talks about, which is allow organizations to build structures where they have complete trust in their people, their data, the organizational structure. It's secure. That's really what the goal is. But at the same time, to build a very collaborative workspace. And sometimes those things don't go together because collaboration often implies, sharing documents and being able to extend things out to third-party business partners or to your customers and do things in a way that allow you to engage seamlessly across documents and platforms and databases and all that. Well, how do you do that and still be able to trust? Well, Secure Productive Enterprise is a way we can do that. It's also heavily built on intelligence, and Michael's going to talk a little bit about this as we go on, but part of the intelligence piece too, and we've talked about this here, is the intelligence security graph. And the intelligence security graph, that's Microsoft's big collection of information that's coming in across all our services, Office, EMS, Windows, Azure, Xbox, you name it. And we're able to take all of the different attacks and things that happen to us in that forum, and we learn from that. And we learn from that in a way that allows us to not only protect our customers real time, but also continue to improve the products that we build. We call that the intelligence security graph. If you've never heard of that, go actually just look it up you can look it up on YouTube if you want. There's some really neat videos that talk about how we leverage that intelligence security graph. That's a key selling point to customers because nobody has the scale that Microsoft does to take all that information on behalf of customers and use it to become more and more secure every day. And then finally, mobility. We all know mobility is a big deal. We're in the EMS community, but mobility matters, right? We want users to be collaborative from wherever they are. So how do you help them become mobile and move to a place where they can get their work done, whether it's at home or on the road or at a coffee shop or in an office? We want that to happen. So when you put those four things together, you get Secure Productive Enterprise. Well, what's actually included in Secure Productive Enterprise is highlighted here. And it's really baked on three things. One is the EMS E5 SKU. We're all familiar with that, so I don't need to educate you with what's in that too much. If you're new to it, we'll continue to talk about that in the months ahead. But it also includes Office 365 E5. And we've got some great new capabilities in there that we're going to show you here in a minute. And then we've got Windows 10 Enterprise E5. So actually, to tell us a little bit about Windows 10, I'm going to welcome onto the line Walt Perry. And Walt is one of our TSPs. He's an expert from the Windows and devices community. So welcome, Walt.
Thanks, Nick. It's a pleasure to be here, everybody. As Nick mentioned, my name is Walt Perry, and been in the partner community for many years. I've worked with an OEM before that, and long before that, I was in the Windows product group for many years. So yeah, definitely been around, seen a lot of really great stuff. So it's a pleasure to talk with you guys today. Specifically, I think, EMS is really definitely a sister companion to, or brother companion, or however you want to look at it, to Windows. Think about chocolate peanut butter. It's just better together, in my opinion. So got a really great talk track for you today around Windows and how it works, and it's layered in with Secure Productive Enterprise. But there's a lot of really great momentum today that I want to talk about just specifically for Windows. Now, when I think about the layered approach to SPE, right, and Michael's going to get into his bit around Office 365, and I know you've seen a lot of great information from Nick around not only just managing devices, but managing identity and that mobility of identity, as well as applications, right? There's a lot of really great things that Windows has at its core that EMS builds on top of, and that Office 365 definitely builds on top of. But I like to say is, the Windows client, specifically Windows 10, is built for the new cloud world, the new generation, the services that are out there with things like Intune or Office 365 and that secure graph that Nick mentioned earlier, which a lot of great information flows down to Windows to make Windows a lot more protected and secure and manageable in this space. So we always like to start out with this slide. because there is still a ton of opportunity, especially for partners that are doing EMS today. So if you're a CSP partner, which many of you probably are, this is a great opportunity to go in that mid-market space in a bunch of different verticals that are growing very fast and looking at their security footprint and looking at their devices, refresh cycles, and looking at what their applications are doing. So there's a ton of opportunity to go in and talk to customers and use that client conversation as a really good primer and starter, specifically around security. Now, some interesting metrics are we're around 450 million devices deployed. There's 96% of enterprise customers that are in active pilots today. And we're thinking in maybe the next year, the next 12 months from today, excuse me, the next 12 months from today, there's going to be at least half of those customers that are going to go from those active pilots to deployments. So let me get into some of the meat here. So when we think about Windows, there's a lot of really great, and I don't know if my slides are advancing. It may take a second here. But when I think about this, I want to give you guys some layered around some really great capabilities that plugs into EMS and Office 365. So when you think about Windows, we're really looking at more control. And today Windows 10 integrates into existing infrastructures. It features Azure Active Directory domain join. It allows you to create and enforce network, user, group, and device policies that align with your business needs, right? So that's a really great thing for a customer to have. It really helps you stay connected. There's a lot of great opportunities to have the control, the experience around Windows 10 across multiple devices to get that very seamless and similar user experience and security and manageability, no matter where you are. Nick likes to talk about that mobility of identity, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. And I think it really resonates with Windows 10 devices, regardless if it's an OEM device that maybe has a different form functionality, if it's a first-party Microsoft device, if it's, say, a Surface Hub, the Surface Studio, the Surface Book, a Surface Pro 4, or even phones, right? Even if it's a competitive phone that's running Microsoft services attached to our cloud, be it, say, an Android phone, which is my main phone, and I really love it because it gives me the control that I want to be able to lock it down. And if you look at my Android phone, other than it running Android, it's pretty much a Windows phone. It has tons of great Windows content on it. And I know that I'm safe and that I'm secure, that my data, business data, is safe and managed very, very well with our back-end tools, say through like Intune, EMS, as well as that corporate content is protected. So if, say, I was a customer, or you're doing some managed services for IT for customers, and those people end up leaving, or employee ends up leaving, you could wipe that data relatively easy, since that is business related data and maybe high, medium, or low impact, right? Windows really does allow you to stretch your investments. There's a lot longer thing around more durable components, better warranties, with the newer devices, better support options, and things like that. And as a partner, I think that's important to know, because, as the advent of managed services move forward, there's a lot of opportunity in helping customers pick those new style devices, which is going to give you better layers of security with like UEFI or better TPM security, or better capability with new Bluetooth options and more secure and faster options that are there today. So there's a lot of great capability, specifically with some of the new devices. And I always like to mention more powerful modern devices. And one of those is the Surface Studio. As everybody knows, we just released the latest current branch of updates, feature updates, which is called Creators Update. And that basically brings in a lot of great new features. Some of those are Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection updates. And we're iterating on Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection like nobody's business. I look at it like the Azure business, right? We're coming out with some really great features every few months, and we're providing that. So not only does Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection help in behavioral analytics, zero-day attacks, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit more. But it really does integrate into other things like Office 365, and they share very similar same consoles. So if an attack happens in Windows, it's progressed to Office 365. And I know, and it shows like remediation things, what the telemetry is, how the attacks are happening, and whatnot. So I know Michael's going to touch base on that a little bit, and he's actually probably going to show some of it, which is fantastic. But when you think about Windows through Secure Productive Enterprise and being a partner, having a conversation, like I said, it's a great primer. There's a lot of other things that I want to touch base upon really quick. And there's some, we talk about security breaches, and I'm sure that's a really good point of talk track for Nick, where it costs a ton of money for remediation. And not everybody knows, if they've been hacked. Chances are there's probably been some sort of intrusion for most customers. Those are those that have and those that will be, as the saying goes. So trying to set up that protection footprint is extremely important. And again, the client is a really great place. So if you have a new modern device with UEFI BIOS and all those great things, Windows feature sets like Device Guard, Secure Boot, Credential Guard really help protect that. And one of the things I like to talk about is Credential Guard, because really what it does is it's a specific feature that aims to isolate and harden key system and user secrets against compromise, helping minimize the impact and breadth of a pass-a-hash style attack in malicious code that's running potentially through a local user account or a network-based vector. Now, let me put that in a little bit simpler terms. You have a brand new car. It's really nice, but at night, the car sits in your driveway. You hang the keys on the key rack in front of your door. So if somebody wants to get into your car, it's simple enough for them to break the glass near your door, unlock your door, grab your keys, get in your car, and leave. So what Credential Guard is, actually, it's like putting the keys inside of a safe inside your house and locking that. So it's a lot harder to get to those credentials, essentially, i.e. your keys. So explaining that to a customer in a way they could understand from that perspective, they start saying, okay, now I get it. The same thing with Device Guard, right? It locks down pretty much the entire system to run only trusted applications. Secure Boot is very similar. It was brought back in like the Windows 8 time frame, and essentially just locks down all only the trusted binaries that Windows boots. Nothing else is allowed to boot. So you look at rootkits and things like that; those aren't allowed to execute during that startup procedure. So there's a lot of really great things. One of the other things I always like to mention too is when we're thinking about offerings around Secure Productive Enterprise, it's really important to think about, Windows and Office 365 and EMS put together around a really fantastic security offering. And again, Michael's going to, I keep foreshadowing Michael's stuff here, so I'm not taking anything away from you, Michael. Just I think it's fantastic information that I've seen in the past, that there's that layered security procedure. So when we think about traditional deployment for Windows, that's going away. All the legacy operating systems, and I even mean Windows 8, 8.1, Windows 7, and prior operating systems, if anybody still is running those, and some people are, based upon lone systems that are out there maybe doing some remedial tasks that continuously just keep running that may not be connected to a network. You want to start thinking about Windows as a service. And Windows as a service is a fantastic way of dropping into managed services, specifically around Secure Productive Enterprise, because it always keeps that customer up to date at any particular time based upon which current branch they decide to be on. Now, most businesses are on current branch for business. So if you're not familiar with Windows as a service, Windows as a service is a way of delivering feature and security updates in essentially a new style. It could be delivered via System Center. It could be via Windows Update, Windows WSUS, what have you. It still utilizes the same ones, but it gives the option for the customer to stay on the incumbent business release, which is current branch for business, the newest releases, which is current branch, or maybe long-term servicing branch for those devices that I just aforementioned that need to only stay on, say, Windows Core and not run any other services other than maybe some very unique services for that particular operation of that device. And then there's actually rings under that too. So you could gradually push out the Windows image that maybe the organization inside that company wants to see in order to test and what have you. So there's a lot of really great content here that is available to help push secure productive enterprise. Now, how do you make money off of it? So you've probably seen this before if you've been in any type of partner briefings, and I've presented at. Let me build this slide out here really quick as I click the button and keep talking. So Windows 10 definitely is your foundation for services revenue, specifically when you lead into secure productive enterprise. There's a lot of really great opportunity, as I mentioned earlier, to do proof of concepts around secure productive enterprise, because it really is greater than the whole Windows ecosystem, bringing in all these fantastic opportunities for partners to have a business productivity conversation, intelligence conversation around how to improve metrics and customer engagements, and how to improve security, how to improve the ability for people to work from remote areas in a safe, secure manner. There's a ton of great opportunity out there that we're seeing today around essentially Azure Active Directory or just plain Active Directory remediation in order to be able to have a hybrid approach around identity, which again is a great lead into secure productive enterprise, as well as System Center Configuration Manager and Intune Prep projects. So there's a lot of opportunity around there, and there's still some funding available, which I'll talk about for Windows Accelerate and other independent Office 365 and EMS opportunities for that funding as well. There's a huge amount of opportunity for device refresh, and there's a great, if you look at some of the Windows archive or artifacts that are out there, PowerPoints and what have you, blog posts, there's a lot of great opportunity to layer on Windows 10 with new PCs. Right, and that's a really great way of having people deploy through that attrition, and a lot of customers are doing that today. So if they're deploying Windows 10 on old PCs, they're not getting quite the amount of security that they probably should have, and we can spell that out in other Windows community calls if you feel that you would like to join those. So there's a lot of really great things around lifecycle management too, and that leads into managed services. So when we think about lifecycle management, it's not just Windows, it's that aforementioned identity, application lifecycle management, security lifecycle management. And there's a huge need for our partners like EMS and Windows and Office 365 partners that lean towards security to start building some very successful businesses and offerings around there. And there's a lot of other great capabilities as it shows through there, and it stacks up for additional margin, specifically around intellectual property, because there's still, I think, we're filling in the gaps pretty well between these components, but I've had some partners out there that also are not only system integrators, but ISVs, create some pretty unique IP around these proof of concept tools, which will go in and scrub the network, provide really great intelligence reported through business intelligence around what the upgrade opportunity is, how many devices that are out there, what potential costs there may be, sort of like a Windows Upgrade Analytics that ties into Windows Upgrade Analytics tool. So there's a lot of fantastic opportunity around there. Now let's talk a little bit more about some of the Accelerate offers that are available today. Well, it is Q4. I'm going to give that caveat that there's still a lot of potentially some Accelerate funding that's available, and some of it is earmarked for the remainder. So there's a great way of putting in for this, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But let me quickly just mention that we have some really great briefings that we've asked our partners to do, and that's the enterprise compatibility briefing. So really it shows, when we think about compatibility, we always think about application compatibility. But this is really focused on Windows as a service deployment models. It's like, how are we going to move forward with the images? How are we going to change that capability? Maybe we're going to look at different ways or do some remediation. That's some decent amount of money, right? There's security integration briefing, which is, I've seen this really take off, and it's really around that security primer, around some of those things I mentioned a little bit earlier around Windows Defender, Advanced Threat Protection, Hello, Information Protection, Credential Guard, Device Guard, and those things. So it's $10K for 4 days. And when you really look at layering those offerings, you can stack a briefing, a POC, and a pilot together. And potentially with DPS, you can get up to around 40K per engagement. That's unheard of in a lot of other things when you compare to like Azure, Office 365 offerings. This is really a great way of creating an offer, an initial productivity offer, or security offer, what have you, that'll drive more Windows capability. And there's a lot of great things around mobility POCs, which has to do with the tie-in to data protection in EMS. It's like Windows Information Protection. There's Windows 10 Enterprise Proof of Concepts, deployment strategies, and what have you. There's still really a need for browser migration, specifically when we start talking about Edge and moving capabilities from IE 11, or maybe they had prior. I'm not sure who's not on IE 11 anymore, if they're running Windows, unless they're running like Windows Vista or earlier legacy OSs. But most people, everybody is on IE 11. But I think we're leaning more towards how can we get these applications, web apps, to run in Edge a lot more efficiently. And there's a lot of things around Pilot, which is, as you can see there, is really focused on either SMSP, which is our mid-market, or if you're working with EPG customers, tons of EPG information. So how do we get that? Well, I don't know if a lot of you are very familiar with this. This is a relatively new offering. We call this Fast Track, right? Everybody's pretty familiar with Fast Track, especially if you're EMS partners here. There is an EMS Fast Track, and there's Office 365 Fast Track as well. Now, the thing I love about Windows Fast Track is you could look at it, and the best way to look at it is it's a project management portal for Windows partners. So when you think about engaging with customers, you can go to this, log in with your MPN ID and what have you as a partner, and start searching for customers or engage those customers around your Windows. So there's a ton of really great capability around how do I get started with success plans, what additional upgrade information, if it's a hydration kit for Windows or it's an assessment and deployment kit that's out there. There's a lot of really great templates around proof of concepts. How do I utilize Windows deployment planning services and all those other things, right? And it's a great capability to be able to jump in, type in a customer name, and I think this is the best way to explain it. So in the past, partners were always like, hey, we really want to get involved with Microsoft field sellers. If it's Windows ATSs, if it's the actual opportunity manager in those territories, is the EPG account manager, is it the PSE, and what have you, right? So it's always been sort of that understanding that as managed partners, or as partners that are close to us in this community, we're going to work that way. Now, Fast Track for Windows, at least, I think, reverses that. It makes it much easier. So if you're working with a customer already, you can go to Fast Track, find that customer, find the different funding options through Accelerate, check those boxes, hit enter, and emails will automatically be sent to that Microsoft customer team, or people that are assigned to that customer team, and that'll land in their inbox and say, hey, X partner is working with your customer around a huge Windows deployment. You should engage with them and approve this funding. So now no longer do you have to go out and find who the Microsoft person is. You just sort of interface with that customer first. We know the intelligence on the back end, how to engage with that, and you're golden from doing that. So quickly moving on, We do have a lot of Windows events for partners that really wraps up a lot of this fantastic capability, specifically when we're thinking about how do I get started, right? If you're interested in building a Windows practice, or even if you have a Windows practice today, we have these fantastic tech series that are coming up. We have, I'm sorry about putting an old one in there, New York, and Chicago's happening today, but we do have a great opportunity in about another month or so, about another 15 days, I should say, to be in LA. And these are 100 to 300 level trainings. It's 2-day trainings around deployment, around security. Fantastic training. We also have Windows 10 Deployment Master Series, which is around the 400, 500 level. These are on demand, so have your engineers and whomever from a technical perspective that you see, join that. We also have some amazing E5, Windows E5, that is Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection security trainings, which were modeled off a massive security airlift that we just hosted in March. Please register. We have Dallas, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. It promises to be a fantastic training opportunity. Now with that, I believe I'm going to hand it over to Michael to talk about his segment. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you guys on potentially some Windows community calls moving forward.
Hey, thanks, Walt. Hi, Michael Pensaroli here, and good to be with everybody today. And I really appreciate being part of the community and having this opportunity to share kind of the rest of the story. As we know, SP is really huge, and so there's a whole lot of value within the Office 365 portion, and I wanted to take you through some of that today. And for those of you who are following along with maybe the downloaded deck, or if you're not, basically just to kind of help you understand where things break out, it's really kind of those two pillars over on the left there, the apps and the services that are really kind of part of the SPE E3, and that really kind of aligns with the Office 365 E3. And then those last three pillars, which I'm going to focus on, is really where that kind of aligns with the SPE E5 story, or really the Office 365 E5 as well. So focusing on those last ones first, kind of starting with security, where we provide that advanced enterprise protection to really help reduce risk for the enterprise. That's part of our people-centric approach to the cloud. We've implemented new capabilities as part of those tools that users use every day to really boost our security, privacy, compliance, and transparency commitments. So those capabilities are advanced threat protection, there's advanced security management, there's customer lockbox, and also advanced compliance, which includes advanced e-discovery. And then just within the last few weeks, we've introduced some threat analytics and advanced data governance, which I'm going to take you through in just a few minutes. So next, there's analytics, where we are delivering insights and really just to help companies make better decisions. So I think everybody's fairly familiar with Power BI, where you're able to pull data from various sources to be able to create simple dashboards and compelling visualizations, really, again, as I mentioned, just to help you make those good business and strategic decisions. And then there's My Analytics. So this, if you're not as familiar with this is formerly Delve Analytics, and we rebranded that a while back, calling it My Analytics, and that really enables employees to understand where they're spending their time, and then, but not only that, just that they can actually make some changes to really take the suggestions that the intelligence that gets applied to be able to make them more effective and productive at their jobs and what they do every day. And then there's voice. So we provide a complete cloud communication, and just to reduce cost by providing a single platform for voice and meetings. So your customers can potentially save millions of dollars. There's lots of examples of this already by having them eliminate third-party conferencing and phone charges, PBX maintenance charges, by implementing that integrated set of voice capabilities of Skype for Business, including PSTN conferencing, cloud PBX, and then PSTN calling. And so in the just to kind of maybe focus on a couple of new things that are new, that are probably particularly interest to this group, I wanted to take you through a couple of those. And just to help kind of set things up for threat intelligence, missing key security signal could mean not catching a breach. But what's happening is that the number of those security signals is really increasing exponentially, and it's becoming pretty much impossible to manually prioritize them. And so we're applying intelligence to help you proactively manage risks and be able to ward off those threats. And so we're introducing these new capabilities to really help you stay ahead of those and stay on top of them. And so we've heard this mentioned already on the call, but what threat intelligence does is it leverages that Microsoft Intelligence Security Graph, and it analyzes literally billions of data points from our global data centers. So this includes Office clients, includes email, user authentications, and other incidents that impact the Office 365 ecosystem, as well as signals from Windows and from the Azure ecosystem. So to really provide those insights that are actionable into the global attack trends. So you'll see some detail. You can't really see it from the screenshot, but you're going to get information around malware families that are affecting both inside and outside your organization, including breach information. There's details like how much Bitcoin the attackers typically request in a ransomware attack. And it also integrates with other Office 365 security features like Exchange Online Protection and Advanced Threat Protection. So you're going to be able to see analysis that's specific to your tenant. So like which top targeted users there are in your tenant, the malware frequency, and it'll also give you security recommendations related to your business. So I had a real deep dive into this just the other day, and I was extremely impressed about how tailored it is to your own tenant. So I thought it was going to be more of a generic service, but it's really not. So as a consultant, you could take the information from this and take the impact it is, and then provide remediation or have a sit down with some of those top targeted users, because they're likely going to be the ones that are going to be breached. So everything that basically Office 365 prevented you from, you can see all those attacks coming into your tenant. So really great visibility and a great dashboard to be able to drill into, to give you insight that you really never had before within Office 365. So the other thing that we just recently announced is advanced data governance. So many organizations, they're exposing themselves to unnecessary risk because they don't really have a good grasp on all the data that they have. And if you've been consulting for any length of time and you've been with your customers, particularly the larger ones, you know that this is true. They retain data that they don't need anymore. Maybe it's personal information from former employees that have long since left the company. And in case there was a compromised in a breach, or you were served with a lawsuit, the company could be liable for remediation, maybe lifetime credit monitoring for these former employees. So advanced data governance, it leverages that machine learning to really help you find and retain the data that's most important to you, while eliminating the redundant and obsolete and trivial data that could cause risk if it's compromised. So it'll actually make proactive policy recommendations. It'll go through your data and classify it based upon several factors, like what type of data it is, how old is it, which users have interacted with it, and then make those suggestions where you can take action right within that compliance center, either by setting up preservation policies or deletion policies. So we're getting great response from this from legal professionals who are leveraging this to really enhance their data management practices. So if you're interested in threat intelligence and advanced data governance, I'm actually having the product managers on my call early next month. And so when you see those community signups at the end of our presentation today, I encourage you to sign up for that call. And then there's advanced security management, which I will take you through quickly. It really provides you enhanced visibility and control into your Office 365 environment. So you can detect threats by helping you identify any kind of high risk or abnormal usage, security incidents, and any kind of threat. So you use this built-in technology to determine what is an anomaly inside of the Office 360 environment. So we take a look at your tenant and kind of watch it and know what's normal from a user activity and also from a tenant activity. And we start to call those things out when they don't look right. So Like login location is a good example of this, or impossible travel. So this may be kind of sounding familiar with you, particularly your enterprise mobility and security partners. It's very similar to the cloud app security offering, but this is focused specifically on that productivity scenario. And next, I wanted to introduce Secure Score. So partners love Secure Score, and hopefully by the time I finish taking you through this, you'll understand why. And so I wanted to first just point out an interesting Gartner security report that stated that through 2020, 95% of cloud breaches will be the customer's fault. And so that's really interesting because we provide that secure underlying service, but there are a lot of potential threats and things that can happen that really Microsoft doesn't necessarily have control over. And so that's why tools like the ones I've been mentioning and this tool, Secure Score, is really great because it really gives you visibility and insight to prevent those breaches where you really never had this visibility before in Office 365. So the way I think about Secure Score, and I heard somebody suggest this the other day, and it's kind of a good analogy where it's sort of like a credit score for the security of your Office 365 tenant. So what's great about this is that you can actually just try this out for yourself. In fact, what I'd like to do is just take you through a demo of Secure Score. So I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop, and maybe if somebody could just provide some insight as to whether we can see the bottom of that screen. So, and because I know people don't have the slides for this, so what I'm going to try to do is try to keep things toward the top of the screen there. But you can log into this if you're any kind of administrator on your tenant or your partner's tenant, securescore.office.com. And immediately I'm presented with my score, and you can see the score for my tenant is an 82. And so you get a numerator and a denominator portion of this. And so that numerator is your secure score out of a possible, in this case, 344. And so that denominator number, what that is that's really the potential score for your particular tenant. So it takes into account the security features that are available to you and how much you've actually applied those or take advantage of those or configured those, and that's how it results in that score. As I scroll down a little bit, but kind of taking a deeper look into that denominator, I see it's recommended a target score for me of 338. And then you see that max score of 432. And you're like, well, wait a minute, what is that? You just told me it was 344. Well, the 432, what that does is that will also take into consideration other more advanced security features that could be added that maybe that tenant doesn't necessarily have. So that's really kind of getting into more of those advanced identity and the advanced information protection capabilities that they would have to add on. So it's not really an upsell tool, but it's good to have that visibility to other things they might be able to take advantage of. And this is a modeler where I can kind of adjust this. You see I'm seeing a balanced, and it'll take the kind of the low-hanging fruit, if you will, of things that easy things to do that provide a great amount of security, and then things start to get more aggressive as I start sliding toward the right that maybe might impact user usability. So over on the right, as I scroll up, you see that I can compare my score with the rest of Office 365 tenants. That's kind of the average tenants. So 82 may not sound so good, but relatively I'm doing kind of better than the average, so that's good. And then as I adjust that modeler, it's going to affect these actions down here, and so I can see actions or recommendations that are there for me based upon my tenant. So just to explore one of these, here's a very easy thing to do that's pretty straightforward. It's going to provide a great amount of security. There's 50 points I can get if I enable MFA for all of my global admins. And so I can read about that, and I can read about the specific threats that I can prevent. And then I can click this Learn More button. And what that does is that, there goes my session. But what that will do is I click into that Learn More. It'll actually give me specific information about, okay, well, what is this going to do? How do I actually take that action? And so it's going to list the actual MFA global admins of my account. It'll let me know how I affect my users, and I can click this little Launch Now button, if you can see it on the bottom, and that will take me directly into the admin center at the location where I go ahead and enable those for that users. So what partners can do is they can leverage Secure Score as part of a security assessment and provide use these recommendations in here, because not all of them make sense, and use that as an engagement to go through these and provide remediation that makes sense for your particular customer. And then maybe as part of a ongoing managed service, you could manage that Secure Score over time. We have another tab over here that's called the Score Analyzer. And so when you take a look at the Score Analyzer, it's going to show you over time your Secure Score. So this can provide a demonstration about how you've maybe helped your client over time increase their security score by implementing these things. And I can click at any one point in time back here and take a look at that score. And then down below, you can see the specific actions that you've taken to really help with that score. So you might be wondering, you see kind of some drift in that score. And you're like, well, why is that? Well, we're constantly evolving the service. And it may be that we've added additional security capabilities for you to be able to add, or maybe the user has, or the tenant has taken some action, like maybe added additional global admins or something like this. And so you can kind of maintain that score over time and address issues as they come up. And there's a nice exporting capability that you can export all those specific recommendations and how Secure Score has monitored and assessed your tenant. There's a couple of different downloads there that you can see and tabs you can look into. And then you can also use that report as maybe a deliverable to your customer. So again, hopefully that was good. And like I said, it's easy enough to try out for yourself, securescore.office.com. And we're also offering a kind of a bill of materials, a help for security partners who want to be able to provide a security assessment. This is brand new. These materials just came out. I haven't even had a chance to share that with my community specifically, and this is just as a couple of days ago. So Nick, as you take things back over, I'll leave you with a URL, and it's aka.ms/security partner, and I'll put that in the messages window, and there you'll get a link to the Yammer group, a security partner for Office 365 security group for Yammer. And there's a zipped up bill of materials that came out of our recent security Office University training that we had in New York just a couple of days ago. Check it out. It's some great content. There's decks in there that you can customize and leverage as part of a security assessment and go through and be able to consult and deliver a security roadmap for your partners. Nick?
All right, Michael, Walt, thank you both. That was fantastic. And folks, don't leave. I want you to kind of get some really great information here as we wrap up. So hopefully you, as an EMS focused partner, have kind of seen a little bit of the bigger picture here, in that we are really trying to make sure that our customers have that security experience across everything they're doing. A lot of what we do in EMS obviously leans on Office 365, right? We know that. Azure Information Protection, it's great when it's integrated with Office 365. Cloud App Security can monitor OneDrive, SharePoint, Office 365. Windows is the platform by which most people are going to interact with that on a day-to-day basis. So what we want you to do is start to think about, how do you build solutions and services that can be used across the entire secure productive enterprise to help your customers build a really secure story. Because they're going to come to you and say, hey, I'm already doing my EMS with you. I want to continue that security journey. Help me get bigger at it, right? Or you might have somebody that's on Office 365 and they've come to you for EMS, and you can help them kind of build out that entire suite. So across everything I talked about earlier, building that trusted, collaborative, mobile, and intelligent organization, there's a lot that we can do as partners to build up solutions that will really help customers. And nobody in the industry can do it in a connected way like we can across the three pieces of secure productive enterprise. It's just not possible because nobody else has those platforms like Microsoft does. And we really want to make sure that we're leveraging that with our customers. I will highlight just one thing on this slide, which is actually the intelligence piece. I think this is going to be one of the great opportunities for partners in the coming years, is taking Power BI. And if you haven't seen Power BI yet, it is a remarkable tool. But Power BI is going to enable you to start to gather all of that security data, whether it's about devices or identities from Intune and Azure Active Directory and so on, and grab all that information and put it into a living, viable, active dashboard that your customers can use every single day to assess the security of their business, right? Power BI isn't just about sales reports and pipeline. It can actually be used as an assessment tool for, hey, how are we doing on security? I think a lot of CISOs would really benefit from some custom dashboards that are going to help them view their business. So don't miss out on the chance to kind of see that as an opportunity. All right, so just to close us out, next steps, what do you do? If you're interested in Secure Productive Enterprise, we want to work with you on that. This is the third of 3 calls that we've done on it. You can see the other 2 calls are linked here on the middle of this slide. You can go back and watch the recordings on those. But more importantly, we want to invite you to join the technical communities. You're obviously here, but there's also one for Office 365 and the Windows and Devices communities. Join the Yammer groups, join their community calls, track with those folks. They've got a ton of great information that I know Michael and Walt are curating on a monthly basis to help keep you up to speed on what's happening in those areas. So that's a really big deal, is to make sure that you're being a part of those communities, and invite others, invite your peers, invite your coworkers. We want everybody that touches EMS or Office or Windows to be a part of these communities in your organizations. So with that, I will go ahead and check and see if there's any questions that have come into the queue. There's just one, and I think there's just a question about IURs. And I'm trying to read it as I go here real time. Internal usage rights is what that is all about. So internal usage rights is your ability as a partner to use some of the products we've talked about today, as well as many others, as a part of your business. That comes with your gold and silver competency attainment. And we're actually going to talk about that in the months ahead when it comes to EMS. But if you've got gold competency on one of these products or silver competency, you qualify for IURs. Best way to track that down is head out to the Microsoft Partner Network portal. Just type in internal use rights or IUR in the search box, and it's going to bring you to a page. It's going to tell you how do you activate those, how do you use those, what are the restrictions and guidelines on using those. So really good question there. Thanks for asking that one. The deck is going to be available. Again, it's posted on the Yammer group under the Files tab. I will make a posting later on this week as well with the recording of this session. If you want to share it with any of your peers, you'll be able to do that. So thank you for that. And as we close out, I just remind you to follow us on the Yammer group. And when I do close the call here, you may get a survey that pops up in the left-hand side of your browser window. If you would take just 30 seconds and fill that out for us, if you get one of those, that would be great. Mostly I'm interested in the comments. I want to know, what can we do in the community to continue to help provide value to you and your business as you drive forward and as you sell and implement EMS with your customers. So with that, again, I'll extend a deep thank you to our presenters today and say thank you as our partners for joining us, and we will talk to you next month. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.